It's official. The Cleveland Browns organization just experienced the most catastrophic, career-ending, reputation-destroying meltdown in modern NFL history. What started as typical rookie coach tension has exploded into an unprecedented organizational implosion that's sending shockwaves through every corner of professional football. We're not talking about your average locker room drama here, people. This is nuclear-level dysfunction that's making front offices across the league panic about their own quarterback situations. Multiple sources confirm that what happened between Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski represents a complete systematic failure of leadership, authority, and organizational structure that's left veteran players questioning everything they thought they knew about professional football hierarchy. The bombshell revelation that's about to rock your world involves not just a heated confrontation, but a calculated power play that left one of the NFL's most respected coaches visibly shaken on national television. We're talking about a rookie quarterback who just delivered the most surgical, devastating takedown of coaching authority ever captured on live broadcast. The footage has already generated over 10 million views, and industry executives are calling it a game-changing moment that could reshape how young athletes approach organizational power structures forever. Sources close to the Browns facility are calling this the most devastating breakdown they've witnessed in decades of covering professional sports. The evidence suggests this wasn't spontaneous emotional outburst, but rather a meticulously planned assault on traditional coaching authority that would make corporate boardroom politics look like child's play. But here's where this story gets absolutely mind-blowing. And what nobody saw coming was how this single moment would trigger an avalanche of revelations about organizational dysfunction, player empowerment, and the dark underbelly of professional sports management. Behind closed doors, there's been a systematic campaign of psychological warfare, strategic manipulation, and calculated moves that involve not just Sanders and Stefansky, but ownership, front office executives, and veteran players who've been watching this disaster unfold for months. The ripple effects are already being felt from Cleveland to Los Angeles, with agents, executives, and veteran coaches scrambling to understand what this means for the future of professional athletics. Documents obtained by sources close to the organization reveal extensive preparation for media appearances, strategic timing of public statements, and coordinated efforts to expose coaching incompetence while positioning Sanders as the solution to Cleveland's competitive problems. The internet has turned into detectives, analyzing every gesture, every word, every micro-expression from that fateful ESPN broadcast. Social media platforms are flooded with frame-by-frame breakdowns, body language expert analyses, and insider theories about what really happened behind the scenes. The comment sections are going absolutely wild, with fans, former players, and industry insiders sharing their own experiences with similar power struggles. If you're already hooked by this insanity, smash that hype button because this story gets 10x more explosive. And what we're about to reveal will completely change how you understand power dynamics in professional sports forever. Let's rewind to the beginning of this epic disaster, because understanding how we got here requires diving deep into the personalities, egos, and systematic failures that created this perfect storm of organizational chaos. The Cleveland Browns, a franchise already synonymous with quarterback controversies and coaching instability, somehow managed to create the most toxic environment imaginable for developing young talent. This isn't just another coaching change or player dispute. This represents a fundamental breakdown in organizational culture that's been building for years. Shedeur Sanders arrived in Cleveland carrying the weight of enormous expectations and the confidence that comes from being raised in a football dynasty. This isn't just any rookie quarterback we're talking about. Sources close to his inner circle describe a young man who's been groomed for greatness since childhood, surrounded by elite athletes, championship mentality, and an unwavering belief in his own abilities. His father's influence created a mindset that refuses to accept mediocrity or bow down to authority figures who haven't earned respect through results. Former teammates from his college career describe his preparation levels as obsessive, his film study as comprehensive, and his understanding of defensive concepts as advanced beyond his years. But more importantly, they describe someone who's never been intimidated by authority figures and has always questioned systems that don't maximize his potential. The psychological profile that emerges from multiple interviews with people familiar with Sanders' development reveals someone who approaches every situation like a chess match. He's been taught to identify weaknesses in opposing systems, exploit organizational dysfunction, and position himself advantageously in any competitive environment. This isn't arrogance or entitlement. This is strategic thinking developed through years of high-pressure situations and elite-level competition. Sources familiar with his pre-draft preparation describe extensive research into Cleveland's organizational structure, coaching philosophy, and historical patterns of quarterback development. He knew exactly what he was walking into and had already formulated plans for overcoming potential obstacles. Kevin Stefansky, on the other hand, represents the old-school coaching philosophy that built the NFL's traditional power structure. Multiple sources familiar with his coaching style describe a systematic approach that demands respect through positional authority rather than earned credibility. His background includes years of grinding through assistant coaching positions, learning from veteran mentors who believed in hierarchical respect and gradual development processes. The fundamental problem wasn't Stefansky's competence as a coach, but rather his inability to adapt traditional methods to accommodate exceptional talent that didn't fit conventional development timelines. The philosophical collision was inevitable from day one, and sources close to both camps describe it as a clash between two completely incompatible worldviews. Stefansky's approach requires young players to accept criticism, embrace systematic development, and earn opportunities through demonstrated loyalty to organizational principles. His track record includes success with players who bought into this traditional methodology, but sources close to the coaching staff admit he's struggled adapting to the new generation of athlete empowerment and immediate impact expectations. The generational divide became apparent during their first private meeting, where Sanders allegedly questioned specific strategic decisions, while Stefansky emphasized the importance of respecting organizational hierarchy regardless of individual talent levels. The timeline of events leading to this catastrophic breakdown reveals a series of escalating tensions that should have been addressed months ago. Training camp reports described minor disagreements about play-calling decisions, with Sanders privately expressing frustration about conservative offensive approaches that limited his explosive capabilities. Multiple witnesses to these early conflicts describe them as respectful but pointed, with Sanders consistently questioning strategic decisions while maintaining professional courtesy. The first major red flag occurred during film sessions following the team's embarrassing loss to the Rams. Despite Sanders completing 70% of his passes and generating 3 touchdowns, sources familiar with these meetings describe Stefansky highlighting every incompletion, every protection adjustment missed, every audible questioned, while minimizing positive contributions. Practice repetition distribution became another source of mounting tension that revealed the systematic nature of organizational dysfunction. Despite ownership's clear preference for establishing Sanders as the franchise cornerstone, Stefansky reportedly continued splitting first-team opportunities equally with backup quarterbacks. Sometimes Sanders received fewer quality repetitions than journeyman veterans, sending a message that seemed deliberately antagonistic. Sources close to Sanders interpreted this as intentional disrespect, systematic undermining, designed to force failure rather than facilitate success. The psychological warfare elements became obvious to veteran players who observed the daily interactions between coach and quarterback. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear, and what we're about to reveal will completely change how you understand this entire situation. The explosive ESPN confrontation that went viral wasn't spontaneous emotional outbursts. Multiple sources with direct knowledge of Sanders' preparation process confirm this was a calculated, strategically planned assault on Stefansky's authority that had been weeks in the making. Documents obtained by sources close to Sanders' inner circle reveal extensive preparation for that specific media appearance, including scripted responses, strategic timing, and coordinated social media amplification designed to maximize impact. The quarterback and his representatives allegedly spent hours crafting the perfect response that would deliver maximum damage while maintaining plausible deniability. The phrase, "everybody knows what happens when I actually get to play," wasn't off-the-cuff honesty. It was surgical precision, designed to expose Stefansky's decision-making while positioning Sanders as the victim of organizational dysfunction. Body language experts analyzing the footage identify classic power dynamics at play, with Sanders maintaining unwavering eye contact while Stefansky exhibited defensive positioning, closed posture, and rapid blinking patterns indicating extreme stress. One professional consultant states that Sanders' reactions suggest someone who came prepared for battle, while Stefansky appeared caught completely off guard by the direct challenge to his authority. The psychological warfare elements of this confrontation go deeper than anyone initially realized. Sources familiar with Sanders' media training describe extensive preparation for handling hostile questioning, deflecting criticism, and positioning himself advantageously in public forums. His team understood that traditional media appearances favor established authority figures, so they developed strategies for subverting those dynamics through authentic communication and strategic vulnerability. The ESPN appearance represented the perfect opportunity to demonstrate these techniques on a national platform with millions of witnesses. Behind the scenes at ESPN, production crew members described the immediate recognition that they were witnessing television gold. Network executives watching from corporate offices allegedly approved extended segment coverage within minutes, understanding that controversy generates massive engagement metrics. The viral potential was obvious to everyone except Stefansky, who seemed genuinely shocked by Sanders' willingness to challenge him publicly. Sources familiar with the production process describe frantic efforts to extend the segment, capture additional footage, and maximize the dramatic tension for broadcast purposes. The immediate aftermath reveals the true scope of this calculated strategy and demonstrates the power of authentic communication in modern media landscapes. Within hours of the broadcast, Sanders' social media engagement exploded exponentially. Instagram followers increased by 500,000 within 72 hours. TikTok videos featuring his television quote accumulated 10 million views collectively. Twitter mentions spiked 500% above normal levels. Brand partnership opportunities increased dramatically based on elevated visibility and perceived authenticity. The economic impact of strategic media manipulation became immediately apparent, as Sanders transformed from controversial rookie to marketable superstar overnight. Meanwhile, Stefansky faced impossible damage control scenarios that revealed the limitations of traditional authority structures in modern media environments. His forced smile and uncomfortable shifting during the broadcast became instant meme material. Social media platforms flooded with side-by-side comparisons, highlighting the contrast between confident quarterback and rattled coach. The optics couldn't have been worse for someone whose authority depended on maintaining respect and control over his roster. Sources close to the coaching staff describe emergency meetings, crisis management consultations, and desperate attempts to regain narrative control that ultimately failed because the damage was already done. The ripple effects through the Browns organization were immediate and devastating, revealing the extent to which Sanders had already built coalition support among veteran players. Multiple team members reportedly expressed private support for Sanders' comments despite maintaining public neutrality. Offensive linemen allegedly frustrated with conservative play calling that limited Sanders' explosive potential. Receivers privately acknowledged superior chemistry with Sanders versus other quarterbacks. 2. Even defensive players recognized organizational dysfunction, hindering competitive possibilities. The locker room dynamics shifted dramatically as players chose sides in what became an internal civil war. The internet turned into detectives the moment that ESPN footage went viral, and what they uncovered makes this story even more explosive than anyone initially realized. Amateur investigators started pulling clips, photos, and old interviews, analyzing every moment where tension between Sanders and Stefansky might have been visible. The evidence they compiled paints a picture of systematic dysfunction that goes back months, revealing patterns of organizational mismanagement that extend far beyond typical coaching disagreements. Multiple insider sources with direct access to Brown's facility operations reveal that the psychological warfare between Sanders and Stefansky had been escalating for weeks before the public confrontation. Team meetings allegedly featured subtle power struggles, with Sanders questioning strategic decisions, while Stefansky maintained stubborn resistance to input from his most talented quarterback. The atmosphere became increasingly toxic as both parties dug into entrenched positions, creating an environment where productive communication became impossible. Leaked footage from practice sessions shows Sanders consistently outperforming veteran quarterbacks while receiving limited opportunities with first-team offense. Statistical analysis reveals his completion percentage, yards per attempt, and touchdown to interception ratio. Embarrassed organizational depth chart decisions repeatedly. Most telling was explosive play frequency, with Sanders creating highlight-worthy moments seemingly effortlessly while established quarterbacks struggled generating consistent offense. The evidence suggests systematic suppression of talent rather than merit-based evaluation of quarterback capabilities. Behind the scenes, power struggles involved more than just coach and player, revealing the complex organizational dynamics that contributed to this catastrophic breakdown. Sources familiar with front office dynamics describe general manager Andrew Berry positioned awkwardly between supporting his coach and acknowledging his quarterback's obvious talent advantages. Owner Jimmy Haslam reportedly grew increasingly frustrated with Stefanski's handling of the situation, especially after personally championing Sanders' selection despite scouting department reservations. The internal conflict created impossible scenarios where organizational unity became unattainable. The financial implications of this organizational meltdown extend far beyond typical coaching changes and reveal the economic stakes involved in modern professional sports management. Sanders' rookie contract represents incredible value considering his production levels, while Stefansky's contract extension creates expensive dismissal scenarios requiring significant ownership commitment. Neither party possessed easy exit strategies, ensuring continued conflict until definitive organizational decisions emerged. The economic impact on season ticket sales, merchandise revenue, and local business partnerships became immediate concerns for franchise leadership attempting to manage the crisis. But that's not even the most shocking part of this unprecedented organizational implosion. What we discovered next changes everything you thought you knew about professional sports power dynamics and reveals the true scope of Sanders' strategic brilliance in dismantling traditional coaching authority. New evidence emerges from multiple sources familiar with Brown's internal communications that Sanders had been building a coalition of support among veteran players for weeks before his public confrontation with Stefansky. This wasn't just individual rebellion against coaching authority, it was systematic campaign to expose organizational dysfunction while positioning himself as the solution to Cleveland's competitive problems. Documents obtained through sources close to team operations reveal that Sanders had been documenting every slight, every missed opportunity, every example of preferential treatment given to less talented quarterbacks. His preparation included statistical analysis, video evidence, and witness testimony from teammates who observed the systematic undermining of his development. The most damning revelation involves Stefansky's alleged attempts to sabotage Sanders' development through practice scheduling, play calling limitations, and public criticism designed to undermine confidence. Multiple witnesses describe coaching staff meetings where Stefansky expressed frustration with ownership pressure to feature Sanders more prominently. His resistance wasn't based on performance evaluation, but rather personal ego and unwillingness to adapt his systematic approach to accommodate exceptional talent. The evidence suggests deliberate suppression of Sanders' potential rather than legitimate developmental concerns. Key players' desperate responses reveal the true panic spreading through Cleveland's organization as the situation spiraled beyond anyone's control. Stefansky reportedly submitted resignation letter following private meeting with Jimmy Haslam, though sources suggest this was strategic positioning rather than genuine desire to leave. His statement emphasized philosophical differences regarding organizational direction, while maintaining professional courtesy throughout transition discussions. The resignation represented acknowledgement that his authority had been irreparably damaged by Sanders' strategic media campaign. Public opinion shifted dramatically as more details emerged about the systematic dysfunction within Brown's facility, demonstrating the power of authentic communication in modern media landscapes. Fan engagement reached unprecedented levels, with jersey sales spiking dramatically and social media followers increasing exponentially. Local sports radio dedicated hours analyzing every gesture, statement, and strategic implication. Cleveland hadn't experienced such quarterback-related excitement since original draft speculation surrounding Sanders' selection. Your hype points are literally helping us fund more investigations like this. Hit that button if you want us to keep digging deeper. This isn't just about Cleveland Browns' dysfunction anymore. The Sanders-Stefansky explosion has triggered industry-wide panic about player empowerment, coaching authority, and organizational power structures that could reshape professional sports forever. League executives across the NFL are scrambling to evaluate their own quarterback situations and coaching staff dynamics, recognizing that traditional authority structures may no longer be sustainable in the modern athletic landscape. Multiple NFL coaching candidates reportedly contacted Brown's front office through intermediary agents, expressing interest in potential head coaching vacancy. Names mentioned include former coordinators, current position coaches, and even college programs monitoring the situation intensely. The coaching carousel began spinning before the current season concluded, creating unprecedented mid-season instability throughout the league. The ripple effects demonstrate how individual organizational failures can impact entire professional sports ecosystems. Other celebrities and high-profile athletes started weighing in on the controversy, with many supporting Sanders' approach to challenging incompetent authority. Former NFL players offered contrasting perspectives, with some applauding his authenticity and competitive fire, while others emphasized traditional respect boundaries and professional courtesy requirements. These debates reflected broader generational shifts throughout professional athletics regarding player empowerment versus institutional authority. The cultural conversation extended beyond sports into workplace dynamics and organizational leadership principles. The cultural implications extend beyond sports into broader discussions about workplace dynamics, generational differences, and authority structures in modern organizations. Business schools started using the Sanders-Stefansky case study to examine leadership failures, communication breakdowns, and strategic power plays in high-pressure environments. The story transcended typical sports coverage toward cultural phenomenon, examining authentic leadership versus traditional hierarchy. Academic institutions began incorporating the case study into curriculum focused on organizational behavior and strategic communication. Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens, and Pittsburgh Steelers observed Brown's dysfunction while recognizing competitive advantages created by organizational instability. Defensive coordinators studied Sanders' limited game footage, preparing for increased utilization under new coaching regime. Organizational stability became luxury Cleveland couldn't afford amid internal warfare. The AFC North Division dynamics shifted dramatically as competitors capitalized on Brown's self-inflicted chaos, demonstrating how internal dysfunction creates external vulnerabilities in competitive environments. Where Everyone Stands Now reveals the complete transformation of Cleveland's organizational structure and the broader implications for professional sports hierarchy. Sanders emerged victorious through strategic patience and calculated media warfare, while Stefansky became a cautionary tale regarding resistance to inevitable change in modern athletics. The power dynamics shifted so dramatically that traditional coaching authority structures throughout the league began questioning their own sustainability. The latest developments show Sanders operating with obvious confidence increase while maintaining professional demeanor throughout the transition. Practice session productivity increased dramatically despite surrounding controversy, with veterans observing his preparation level, communication skills, and execution precision consistently impressing remaining coaching staff members. His leadership qualities transcended typical rookie capabilities, earning respect through performance rather than positional authority. Sources close to the team describe a complete transformation in locker room dynamics, with players gravitating towards Sanders' authentic leadership style rather than traditional hierarchical structures. Stefansky's departure created immediate organizational restructuring, featuring interim coaching staff, expanded Sanders' role, and modified practice procedures emphasizing his strengths and capabilities. Veterans expressed optimism regarding competitive possibilities despite mid-season transition challenges. The new dynamic allowed Sanders to demonstrate his full potential, without systematic undermining from coaching staff resistant to his success. Multiple sources confirm that the offensive system was completely redesigned to maximize Sanders' explosive capabilities, resulting in immediate improvements in team performance and player morale. Ongoing legal and professional consequences continue evolving as the situation develops into unprecedented territory for professional sports management. Sanders' agent leveraged the public support into contract discussions, role expansion, and organizational input that would have been impossible under previous coaching regime. His strategic approach created unprecedented rookie leverage, while maintaining professional relationships with teammates and front office personnel. The legal implications extend beyond Cleveland, as other young athletes and their representatives study Sanders' methods for challenging organizational dysfunction through strategic media manipulation and coalition building. The economic impact throughout greater Cleveland area demonstrates the power of authentic leadership and competitive excellence in modern sports marketing. Sports bars reported record attendance for Browns-related programming. Local merchandise retailers struggled maintaining Sanders' jersey inventory. Season ticket waiting lists experienced renewed activity after months of stagnation. His single television appearance generated more community engagement than entire previous seasons, proving that authentic communication resonates more powerfully than traditional corporate messaging. This is the kind of content that changes industries. Anytan Stees, show your support by hyping this video so more people see what's really happening. The transformation became complete within a single week, demonstrating how quickly organizational power structures can shift when challenged by strategic communication and superior performance. Sanders evolved from controversial rookie to organizational cornerstone through calculated media appearances, consistent excellence, and authentic leadership demonstration. His approach created template for future athlete empowerment while respecting professional boundaries throughout the process. The success of his strategy has already influenced other young athletes facing similar organizational challenges across multiple professional sports leagues. What's coming next in this unprecedented saga could reshape professional sports forever, and the unresolved tensions suggest we're only seeing the beginning of a complete transformation in how young athletes approach organizational power structures. The template Sanders created through strategic communication and calculated media warfare will influence generations of professional athletes who refuse to accept systematic undermining of their potential. 3. Multiple sources familiar with league dynamics predict that other young quarterbacks will study Sanders' approach and adapt similar strategies when facing organizational dysfunction. The success of his calculated confrontation with coaching authority demonstrates that authentic leadership and strategic communication can overcome traditional hierarchy when backed by superior performance and public support. Sports agents across the league are already incorporating Sanders' methods into their client development programs, teaching young athletes how to document organizational failures, build coalition support, and leverage media appearances for maximum impact. The ripple effects will fundamentally change how professional sports organizations manage talent development and coaching staff accountability. The broader implications for coaching staff across professional sports include necessary adaptations to new generation athlete expectations that prioritize merit-based evaluation over traditional hierarchy. Traditional approaches demanding respect through positional authority rather than earned credibility will become increasingly ineffective as young athletes embrace empowerment and refuse accepting substandard situations quietly. Coaching education programs are already beginning to incorporate modules on modern athlete psychology, strategic communication, and collaborative leadership approaches that acknowledge the changing dynamics of professional sports management. Unresolved mysteries surrounding the complete scope of organizational dysfunction within Cleveland suggest additional revelations could emerge as more insiders feel comfortable sharing their experiences. The systematic nature of Sanders' documentation and strategic planning implies deeper evidence exists regarding coaching staff, incompetence, and organizational mismanagement. Sources close to the investigation hint at additional footage, internal communications, and witness testimony that could expose even more damaging examples of systematic talent suppression and organizational dysfunction. Potential future revelations include detailed analysis of practice footage, internal communications, and witness testimony from teammates who observed the systematic undermining of Sanders' development. The legal implications of coaching staff deliberately sabotaging player development could create precedents for future organizational accountability in professional sports. Multiple law firms specializing in sports representation are reportedly studying the case for potential applications in similar situations involving talent suppression and organizational dysfunction. The NFL world witnessed unprecedented player-driven organizational transformation through calculated media strategy, consistent performance, and authentic leadership demonstration. Sanders' approach created template for future athlete empowerment while respecting professional boundaries throughout the process. Cleveland football fans witnessed authentic leadership confronting organizational dysfunction on national television, and the message resonated powerfully throughout professional sports. The revolution succeeded completely, demonstrating that strategic communication combined with superior performance can overcome even the most entrenched organizational resistance. The cultural impact extends beyond professional sports into broader discussions about workplace empowerment, generational leadership differences, and the evolution of authority structures in modern organizations. Business leaders across industries are studying Sanders' approach for applications in corporate environments, where traditional hierarchy conflicts with innovative thinking and exceptional talent. The case study has become required reading in leadership development programs, organizational psychology courses, and strategic communication curricula at major universities. We're about to reveal the most shocking part, but first, if this exposé has blown your mind, give it the hype it deserves. The revolution Sanders started in Cleveland represents the future of professional athletics, where talent, authenticity, and strategic communication overcome traditional power structures that prioritize hierarchy over excellence. The transformation succeeded completely, and the ripple effects will influence professional sports for generations to come. The ultimate lesson from this unprecedented organizational transformation demonstrates that authentic leadership, strategic communication, and superior performance can overcome any systematic attempt to suppress exceptional talent. Sanders didn't just win a battle against incompetent coaching. He fundamentally changed how young athletes approach organizational challenges and created a blueprint for future generations who refuse to accept mediocrity, disguised as traditional development. The Cleveland Browns learned the hard way that in modern professional sports, talent combined with strategic thinking will always triumph over outdated authority structures that prioritize control over excellence. The story continues evolving as other organizations throughout professional sports examine their own power structures, coaching philosophies, and talent development approaches. The Sanders revolution has only just begun, and the final chapter of this transformation will determine whether professional sports embrace authentic leadership and merit-based evaluation or continue clinging to traditional hierarchy that suppresses exceptional talent. The choice is clear, and the future belongs to those brave enough to challenge dysfunction and demand excellence.